I'm about to mute everybody and get started. So make sure that you have a chair, couple of blankets, a sticky mat or two. What else? Oh, a doorway is quite helpful. Okay. Sit up straight. This is Ruby. Sit up straight and tall. Shoulders back, shoulder blades down. Close your eyes. Draw your senses in. Take your glasses off. Join your palms. The minute you go, in order to go in, you need to release the ear. There is no kind of internal direction without that ear being profoundly relaxed. Drop the ear canal, that hinge of the jaw. The lips stay touching, but the hinge of the jaw is quite relaxed. You don't drop the mouth open, but that hinge softens. It is neurologically connected to the ear, physically, neurologically. Draw your spine up. Go in. And on the inside of you, keep an image of the sage Patanjali, that root teacher of this practice. Bow to that teacher. And release your hands. Raise your head and open your eyes. Stretch your legs. Okay, so the camera, my view of you is not great unless I walk up to that computer screen. So if I ask a question of the group, your yes answer will be like this, not just a thumbs up. I can't see many of your thumbs up. So I can definitely see this, and I can see this as no. Yes, no, yes, no. Okay, so and if something happens and you need to speak to me, you've got to come up and unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay. Okay. So here's my question. Can you see my feet? Yes, no, yes. Good. Like, glad. Now, stand up. Can you see my hands? My fingers? Yes? That's so good. Okay, perfect. Now, I'm going to turn this so you see a doorway behind me, right? First pose. Sorry. First pose. If you had a rope wall, you would, it's not a great camera angle, but you would hang from the ropes. Not having a rope wall, you put your hands through the doorway with the thumb down, thumbs down. Hook inside the doorway, bend your knees and hang. Now, your hands can be higher up if you're stiffer, lower down if you're more flexible, but get that spine to open up. Take breaks if the hands aren't strong. Go. Do as you can. Now, if you don't, and I don't have to see you in your doorway, you can go anywhere you like and give yourself the experience of extending that spine. Lengthen that spine. Pelvic region, abdomen region, side waist. Maybe if you wiggled your hips a little to the right, you would stretch the left low back a bit more, then go the other way, sway a bit the other way so you feel some extra extension. Don't go to extremes. Take breaks. Don't bother the shoulder. This eventually will make your hands strong. Now, come out, stand up, walk back. Okay. So some of you were able in that action to really extend the spine. And some of you were still working. This is what, if you see it, this is that swaying one side to the other. I want you to see if you can straighten your knees next time. Keep the length of the spine and stretch those legs straight. Back you go. And if I don't see you, that's fine. Start with the knees bent. Now you've got to be able to hang away from your support. This is not a pushing pose. This is a traction pose. So hang away from that door and keeping all the body weight sort of giving traction to the spine. Begin to straighten the legs. And when they get straight, make them fully straight, heels down, thighs up. Press the inner front thigh back, middle front thigh, outer front thigh. Press back. Now, release, come out, stand up. Okay. Find a chair. Okay. You need a chair. And I like putting a sticky mat on the chair seat. The reason being, my lower body, whatever I'm seated on, is more stable, doesn't slide. So you want to sit on a chair with your right side next to the chair back. Seated Bharadvajasana, chair Bharadvajasana. So here's where a strap can come in handy for those with low back tension, hip, sacrum, lumbars. Take this strap and just loosely, don't squeeze, loosely, so the legs rest about hip width. You see there's a space between, like I could put a brick there if I wanted, okay? So there's some stability here at rest, or even more stability at rest. And from here, you begin to turn. Now, relax the ear. Does it require that you close the eye? Keep the eye open, but relax. Relax the ear and take those senses down to the hips. And you will see perhaps your knees shifting as you turn. They'll shift a little, then the sticky mat will stop them. Use the sides of the chair to lift your trunk and turn. Now go somewhere comfortable in that turn. If you're flexible, you'll go farther. If you're less flexible, less far. Look at the front surface of that left hip. I mean, with the inner senses, not your eyes. And the back surface where the sacrum is. Go in and keep that pelvis grounded. Inner thigh, middle thigh, outer thigh. Inner buttock, middle buttock, outer buttock. Come out. Belt off. Stand up. Walk around the chair. And then you can, if you want to face the same direction, you turn your chair around. And you sit, and I'm turning my chair so I can keep seeing the camera. That's not a requirement for you. And the strap comes back on. Feet grounded. Both buttocks should be supported. Now, I should have said, and I will now, that where you sit on the chair is significant in terms of how the twisting goes. So you want the twist to be easy, sit way back on the chair seat. And then the hand that's pulling the twist, in my case, it's my right hand, works more, and the left hand is easy. If I sit in the middle of the chair, it's more balanced. If I sit at the front edge of the chair, there's much more going on in this hand. Does that make sense? Can you feel how the emphasis on what's happening in the body changes as you change your seat? Now, I want you to do what you did on the first side. Don't change things. So if you sat well back or in the center, or wherever you sat on side one, make the same experience on side two. Feet flat, spine up tall. And it's not a question of where your buttocks are on the back of the seat. It's a question of where your hip socket and shoulder and spine basically are. So turn as you are able. Keep that. Now it's your outer buttock is the right buttock. Front, back, inner to outer. turn. Use this chair seat to pull your ribs up and turn. Then you come out, slip off the strap, stand up. Now, I recently discovered this very peculiar way of doing a standing Marichyasana that works for people who don't have a rope wall. Here is my kitchen stool. And I put it right in front of my door, the doorway. Then I get a chair and I put a chair back. You'll think this is peculiar, but wait till you see it. It's kind of interesting. Okay. All right, watch what happens. Let me say, you guys who've been in the back care class, you've done standing Marichyasana, you get a chair and you put your foot on the chair and then you reach up for the ropes on the rope wall. Do you remember this? And you stretch the spine down. It's like a hanging traction. Yes, you remember that? Yes, no. Here's a version on the bar wall, just hanging onto a bar. Here's a version in the doorway. Watch. I stand on my kitchen stool. That makes it so that, I have to turn the camera now. So you see the top of the door frame. So I can hold on easily with a slightly bent elbow. Now I'm facing forward and I put my foot, can you see this? My foot is on the top of the chair seat. Here, I'll do it on the other side. Stand up. Face the chair. Put your foot on the chair back. So, can you see my thigh is right here? And then this hand goes up the wall. This knee braces on the door frame. So it's not a loose knee, doesn't go through the door. And I turn. You want something to pull on. That's the whole point of this complicated maneuver. You want something for this arm to pull on when you turn. And this door frame is too high for me. So I get a stool. Now, you're missing that. All you need to do is put your foot up on a chair, brace the knee, and go up the wall with one hand and turn with the other. So if you can't hang, you still get to do most of the pose. Chaya, that's good. If that stool is not so high, it tilts the pelvis. So if your heel is up well, that's good. And go to the wall. Hang if possible. And then come out and change sides. So, Chaya, I think that you should put more height under your feet. That stool is just a bit high. Yeah, no, it's IKEA. Is it my, go up tall, get that right side. So if I see this correctly, Doug, the knee that's toward the wall is the lifted knee, and you're turning toward the lifted knee. And it's the opposite hand that's reaching up. It's your left hand that reaches up and catches something. Yeah, so that left side stretches. It's a twist toward the wall, toward your knee, toward the wall. And you come out. And I hope that was reasonable. Did you get that, Doug, on that side? Yes, maybe. I can't hear you, but yes, good. All right, now. Chair, same chair, but a wall. I'll move the camera. Give me a second. Something like that. So you've got the chair back or the chair seat or something in between, putting bricks on the chair seat. So you've got low, medium, and high, however you want to adjust. I'm putting my right foot on the top of the chair back. If you had a bar wall, you would put your foot into the bar, except perpendicular. You can't see that anyway. You have a bar wall, you can use it. The legs should be straight, okay? Hands on the hips. Now stand very, very straight. Hands on the hips if your balance is there. Use a wall beside you if you need to. Level the hips. Press that right front thigh. Well, start with the left leg, standing leg. Move your left thigh back so you stretch through the heel to the floor. Move that outer right hip down, pelvis level. Stretch out through that leg. Now, if possible, take your arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana if the balance is there, even going to interlock the fingers and push. Push up tall, open up that spine. Then release the arms, take the foot out, stand straight. Take about 4 steps in any direction, 4 steps out, 4 steps back. Walk around, move your hips. Oh, Karen, walk like a regular person. Don't go side. Move your hips. Move your hips, that's all. Okay, side 2. It's to break the grip of that pose is all. Now, side 2, left foot up. Right foot faces the wall, straight forward. You're resting kind of on a comfortable part of the back of the heel. pelvis level. Now you must stand strongly toward that floor, push down through the right leg. Get that thigh toward the back of the hip socket and push down. So it will yield you height. And take the arms up when those legs are firm. Stretch the left leg, press that top thigh down as the arms go up. Emilia, from my angle, you need to lower the left hip just a bit. Pull up tall and release then. Arms out, leg out, stand straight. And then take a short walk, like as if everything were fine. Okay, now we're going to move from Trikonasana to Ardha Chandrasana. So you could use a brick, you could use a chair. Either way, it's almost the same. I want everybody to use a wall. Now, my wall has a bar in front of it, but imagine that it's just a wall. I can use it like a wall, same as you. So also, sorry about this, my chair, your chair goes to the right side. So you set up for Trikonasana, taking those legs wide apart, level those hips. Now my bar wall is showing you sort of a measure. Spine is vertical, tailbone and crown of the head, which gives me level hips. If I'm tilted, I feel a buttock on this center bar right here. So anyway, I have ways of telling. So you ready? Anchor that back foot into the floor. Inner foot, outer foot. Turn your left thigh. I think, Chaya, you need a longer stance. Okay. Now, when you bend from the hips, this right buttock has to move away from the right foot. It has to shift, and the weight stays on the left foot. So your body weight is very supported on those legs. So you could, like, read the newspaper, change the page, you're supported. So go to whatever support you are using. Spend a little time there. Get the right top outer thigh back. You know, this is very similar to this pose where I made you move this thigh back, back, yes? So in Trikonasana, this thigh has to go back. Now, to come to Ardha Chandrasana, the knee bends. You use the wall support. Feel free to lean, step up. At least your buttock is on the wall. And rest, you see me on a chair seat. It's just as if my hand were on a brick, but there's a little more stability. Lifted leg, stretch it straight from the hip, from the buttock, from the groin. Standing leg, Move that top thigh back. Inner top thigh, outer top thigh. Top arm can go up. It can also rest on the hip. It can also stretch back according to what your neck is doing. Let your abdomen be soft. Let your abdominal organs drop down, down. And bend your knee, lean on the wall, step back and come up. And just be resting there for a second. And then you can move your chair. Back up. Take your feet apart. Now be here with parallel feet, legs apart. Don't turn that left leg yet. Turn your foot facing forward, feet parallel. Okay, so what's going on in these hips is a reflection, or it's leading to, it's connected to what's going on in the low back. So I'm going to say, watch my feet, turn your toes inward slightly. This is me. If I face the camera with my feet closer together, you'll see it. Feet parallel, oops, and then toes sort of toward each other. See that? So it's not a super stance, it's just slightly in. So you do that in this wide apart pose. Now what happens is that back thigh, back pelvis broadens. Sometimes the hip gets a cramp, especially when you push the big toe base joint inner heel down to the floor. Stretch that leg with the feet slightly in. Now turn that left thigh out. Foot all the way turned. Stretch your arms. Move that left thigh away from the left ribs. Carry all the weight on the legs. Push from the left big toe to the right heel. Come on down to whatever support you are using. Top hand to the hip. It could go up the wall. This depends on your neck. It can reach back. It's your neck. Anchor those legs, move that thigh. And now, you ready? Bend the knee. You have to step forward, use the support of the wall. Lean on the wall. Lift the lifting leg as you straighten the standing leg. And that the standing leg is straightening by this top thigh going back. Top thigh going back. There's a mental strap pulling outer top thigh, middle top thigh, inner top thigh. As this inner thigh relaxes, the groin of that side relaxes, that abdomen opens. Hang your inner body. Pacify it. Now this lifted leg, as we pointed out, if you turn your foot up, you're sort of going contrary to the pose. Keep that back thigh broad. You see how my foot straightens out. Don't let your foot turn. And extend. Now bend the knee. Take the support of your wall and step back. And turn your feet and bring your feet together. Okay. A back bend. Turn your chair so the seat faces away from the wall. We're going to do 2 of these back bends. One is easy, one is more difficult. Easy first. This is upward, no, yeah, we'll call it upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Oh, let me say one thing. This will help. Here's a sticky mat. And I fold it in 4, so I've got it on its wide side, going across the back of the chair seat. So chair seat facing you, see how narrow it is. And then when I put this sticky mat against it, it kind of extends the back of the chair seat. So right here, I'm pinching sticky mat with my wrist wider. That's the idea here. You're making a chair extender with your sticky mat. So it goes to the wall. And with the palms facing forward, thumbs out, well, thumbs forward, I pinch like a lobster claw that side of the mat and watch. Upward facing dog, knees bend, elbows bend, my top thighs come to the chair. I'm just pushing with my wrists on that chair, on that sticky mat on the chair. Then I take my feet back, still knees bent. Sorry, still knees bent. And I push my chest up. And the crowning act in the trunk is to squeeze the ribs and stretch the arm, which moves my chest forward. And then I stretch my legs. Upward facing dog. Push the arms down. Okay? This is a very open pose. And I would recommend even the smaller people using that sticky mat. If you, it always helps the shoulders to have just that extra bit of length. So you start with the knees bent, elbows bent, and your palm is facing forward, thumb wrapped around the front. And with those elbows bent, push on the chair. The elbows come against the backside ribs, and as they straighten, they compel that rib cage forward into a back bend shape. Your top thigh already is touching the chair, and it doesn't stop. As you stretch those elbows, push down on the chair, push your chest up, and stretch your legs back through to the heels. Your big toes will be on the floor and the heels in the air, but that back leg is super straight. Come out. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Now, you can make that a more intense back bend. By, as if you had such a thing, you could put a slant board on the chair seat, and that of course would once again widen the perch of the arms. Is another thing you can do. You can have an intermediate position. But it's soft in the hands, so be careful that you don't irritate the wrists. Same pose, just a bigger arc. You see, I'm lower down. So this top thigh is against a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you just pile up blankets, right? You just make a stack of folded blankets instead of a bolster. Or you could even put blankets on top of the bolster. There, alternate props are possible. But you need it firm enough that it's not going to break your wrist pushing on it. So on that bolster, I was like this and partly on the back of the chair. You might put a brick on your blanket pile. Make sure you don't injure your wrists. So that elbows bend. Somebody is echoing. Karen, you've got to mute.
I muted myself.
You have to mute. You're on an iPhone and the screen.
Sorry.
You have to mute something.
I got it now.
All right. And did you have a question?
No, I lost you. For the last 5 minutes, I haven't been able to see you. So I was
I got it. Never mind.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
yes.
okay.
All right. Please come out, Emilia. You've been in there a while. Okay. Are you all right? I would like one more back bend shape, if that's okay with you. You all have a chair. Is that true? I can't see Karen's iPad. I can't see Vidya, but I'm assuming there's a
Yes.
chair.
Yes, I have
Okay.
almost everything.
All right.
Feeling this a lot in my lower back.
Who's this? Karen Carpenter?
Karen iPad, Karen Carpenter.
Karen iPad. Your low back is irritable, you say?
Yeah, I'm feeling it in my lower back.
All right. Let me, all right. You know, if you had something like a horse, like a Tressler, like a shelf. This is what you see, this box-like shape here. This is a higher than a chair, Karen. So you can work here. You can work. This is, in fact, a prime use of the horse is where you've got a super good push to release the low back. Let me see if I can turn this at an angle. So you can see it's not much of a back bend, Karen. So going maybe to your kitchen counter, you might get an equivalent kind of height to this.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So when, again, if there's an injury, you start where you start. You adapt where you adapt now. props back, bolsters out of the way, chairs out of the way. You will need a strap and your sticky mat. Back to the straight up view. And a little more of the floor. We're going to be on the floor for a little bit. So there's a couple of things to do on the floor. One is this pose called, checking, Supta Pavanmuktasana. One of them is Supta Padangushtasana, with the leg vertical. Okay, so we're going to do first this one, both sides, and then the straight-legged version. So in theory, you need a strap with a loop in it, about a foot-sized loop. Okay, so you are lying, hopefully, on a level surface, heels and head, same level. And you want to stretch those legs as you were doing standing in order to open that front pelvis. Now you bend up the right knee slowly, keep that left leg straight, pelvis square. If you have knee problems, hold between the thigh and the calf. If you do not have knee problems, hold the front shin. Now the shin bone lengthens toward the knee. Relax your foot. Everybody, drop your foot. The shin bone lengthens toward the knee. The thigh bone lengthens from the knee toward the hip socket. So you could hold your right knee with your left hand and hold your outer right hip. I'll change sides so you see it. Opposite hand draws the knee in. Same side hand pushes the hip away from you. This way, the groin softens, the pelvis softens, and you maybe get a chance to loosen and arrange that sacroiliac. Now you release, and you let that leg go to the floor with the knee bent, and it slides out flat. Observe the breath in the abdomen, and then slide your left foot up. Hold the knee, or the front or the back knee. Relax the foot. Keep the straight leg, the right leg quite straight. Stretch it from the back thigh, the hamstring. Depth in the groin. Now these little subtleties that we've explored in bits and pieces, making sure that the straight leg, the one on the floor, is rolled in, not out. And stretching through the big toe base joint and inner heel, so you feel that effect deep in the groin. The left shin goes toward the knee, the left thigh goes toward the hip. And then you release and put that right foot on the floor and stretch it out straight with the other leg. So that is Supta Pavanmuktasana. That is the reclining release of prana. Pavana is like prana. So that's what we did. Next one is Supta Padankushtasana. And to do that, you will essentially start as you just did, drawing that right knee up to the chest. And you put the strap around the foot and take that right leg up to vertical. So even if you're flexible and you can take a bigger pose, don't do it. Just go to vertical. And if you're very tight and you cannot bring the leg to vertical and straight, go for straight. Now both thighs should roll in slightly, front thighs, just slightly. So you have access to those groins. Create extension, lengthen both thighs. And your hands, by the way, are pulling this rope straight down toward the hip as your right leg pushes straight up to the ceiling. Seat that right thigh in its socket and relax the abdomen. And then bend the knee, release that strap, take it off, foot to the floor, and slide your heel out to straight legs. Be there for a second, just registering how the two sides feel different. And then drag the left heel up, knee to the chest, belt loop around that foot, and stretch the leg vertically. And you pull, the leg is stretching upward vertically. And you see your foot. And you can see clearly if your leg and foot are turned out. So bring them not just to parallel, but ever so slightly in. And lengthen from the groin to the inner heel, big toe base joint. And keeping that slight inward rotation, push that whole front thigh straight back to the hamstring. Deflate the abdomen. And release, bend the knee, unhook, out you come. Stretch both legs straight out on the floor. And then bend your knees, roll to the side, come up sitting. Now we need a spready twist. So here's kind of a nice way of working. If you had a bolster, you take your bolster and you put it perpendicular to the wall. If you don't have a bolster, you get a stack of blankets and you fold them so they're about the width of a bolster, and you make a pile of them, 3 or 4 high. So it gets to the height of a bolster. So you've got a long shape. Bolster, or enough blankets that it's about the height of a bolster. So I'm going to use my bolster. I sit on the end of it and I experiment. This for me is a little bit too close, so I'm just gonna scoot away from the wall. That's not bad, but everything is an experiment, so that's my guess. So this is Marchasana 3. You want to bend, I'm bending the knee closest to you, but you want to sit in such a way that your right knee bends. Left leg straight, right knee bent. Now I'm going to turn toward you once and away from you once, so my legs are going to change. I want to sit as close as possible between this calf and thigh, so very compactly. Then opposite hand goes around that knee, and I lean back until I can have a long spine. I'm not, have a look, I am not sinking the navel back and going round spine. Not that, nor am I trying to do a back bend and throw these lumbars in. In fact, if I push down, I'll get very nice height. And then I can turn. Wide elbows, turn. Now, the wall can help you turn more. If that a much twist is available to you. If the wall is shoving you into a curl, you're too close. Move yourself further away, okay? There is not a requirement that you cross the elbow outside the knee unless the twist is coming. Come out for a second. And let me make an observation. This inner foot is as important in this pose as it's been all class. So with this foot on the floor, don't roll out. With that foot on the floor, don't let it roll out. Don't let it turn out. This happens, okay? This happens. Stay on the inner foot as you go. You ready? Take that same side, emphasizing the inner foot just briefly. Same side. Push the inner heel. Lift your trunk. Pushing, if you see my foot, my toes are wide awake here. My foot is thinking hard. And whoever you are, don't cross over. It's a same side pose, yeah? And you go to the wall, okay? Always stay on the inner foot. All right, come out. Stay tall, sit straight. Then the second leg should be left leg now. And often what I do here to make sure I keep that emphasis is I actually move the heel out slightly. Instead of having my foot running parallel, I internally rotate it, and this gives me a better seat in the hip. Okay, stretch your right leg. Right hand goes around or on top of that left knee, and you lean back on your bolster so you get some extension through the waist. Stretch through the inner foot, both legs. Your straight leg is going to be tempted to get lazy also. Take your back hand to the wall so you can be even more broad. Push on that bent leg heel and deepen its own groin. Turn the ribs. And come out slowly. And only after you're unturned do you let those feet go. Okay? So a Marichyasana, are you okay? Yes. Can we please repeat that? Now, in the repetition, if it was difficult for you, it really is a repeat. You're just trying to develop the shape as it is. Those who had more success, maybe you can cross the elbow over, leaning back, the elbow crosses over. So it's a loose pose. You see how I've got space here in between my side ribs and thigh and armpit. There's a little triangle of space here. In the typical pose, I would really be closing that gap and in the wrapping. But here we're keeping things open. Just an expansive pose. This is for the spine. Which could be as much for joints and muscles as for the nerves. And come out. And stretch both legs. And bend knee 2, side 2. So you lean back. First, your effort with both arms is to push down to give you height. It's almost like the weight is coming off the hips a bit, and you turn. Keep that inner bent leg heel pushing, inner straight leg foot pushing. Go to the wall for the expansive pose. Only cross the elbow over if turning is sufficient. You're looking for freedom, not squinch, not maximum squinch. Did you know that term squinch is an actual architectural term? Come out. It's actually used. Do you know what a squinch is? A squinch is where you take a square room, you've got a room with 90-degree angular walls, but you have a domed roof. So how do you turn those square corners from the walls into a smooth domed roof? The shape that's made, taking a square and tapering it to a dome, it's called a squinch. Because it kind of squinches off the corner, maybe. I don't know. It's a squinch. Islamic architecture, I don't think it's Islamic, but Persian, ancient, that part of the world architecture invented it. I don't think they called it a squinch though. Okay. Pretty sure it was not called a squinch. You do not want for your next pose this much height. Too thick. You need only 2 blankets, just 2. They go to your right side. And you're sitting in Dandasana facing me, feet to me. And these are on your right side, and they're level, comfy level. Now, watch what I do. I have some space between these blankets and my hips. It's like a handspan. Okay. The away foot I fold toward Virasana. That makes my hips crooked. If you have a funny knee, just lean away from it till the knee is safe. It's not about Virasana. Keep watching. See this leg. By my foot, you see how the entire leg is rolling flat down onto the floor. My foot is telling you what the top thigh is doing. So I'm on that outer hip and I've given myself room to roll there without colliding with the blanket. And I turn my ribs, lie flat down, sternum down, and then turn your head and look towards your straight leg foot. If your neck is turned too much, just tuck your head off the edge of the blanket so it's not forced into so much rotation. At this point, relax both legs. So your straight leg will bend a bit and the bent leg will flop a little bit straighter. Relax the shoulders, the arms. This is called, by the way, Parshva Pavanmuktasana. Parshva just means to the side. Pavana, again, is like prana, the pranic energy of the body. And mukta is freeing. So in yogic terms, when people have back pains or spinal issues of one sort or another, it's often considered that the prana, the energy, the vital energy of the body cannot move freely. So this sequence has several instances where the poses are sort of deliberately meant to get you to move the sensitivity of the breath around, across these back muscles, pelvic muscles, back ribs, spine. This is one of them. Now, to come up, the elbows bent, palms down, dangle your head, make your head be the last thing that comes up, and legs totally relaxed as you push yourself upright. And I'm going to say something. This pose you wind up in, which is the upright Triang Mukha Kapada, there is a value to being in this pose for a little while. This is going to teach you things about this bent leg sacrum, this straight leg groin. Okay, we're not doing this pose, but if you had your own practice, you were free and time was your own, you would stay there for a little while. Now your blankets go to side 2 and you give yourself that room to roll. And I'll add another thing. Some of you, if there are digestive complaints or some, there are a whole lot of reasons, I can't run off the list, but if your sensation when you get into this side 2, remember, roll all the way to the outer hip. If coming down with your abdomen on this blanket is uncomfortable, move the blanket away so it's just under your chest and your abdomen is free. Some people will prefer exactly the opposite. The abdomen wants to be supported, is very happy being supported, happier being supported. So be willing to experiment if there is discomfort. Your left leg is the straight leg, and it's the one that's underneath. A last little bit, if you feel like that thigh bone is just being driven like a spike into the floor, keep rolling till you get on the other side of it, the side pelvis, side waist. Then completely relax the legs, completely relax the shoulders, the arms. When I first did this, there was enough unconscious gripping in my shoulders and neck that I think the first 2-3 times I did this, I could not relax my arms, my shoulders. They wouldn't drop, they wouldn't let go. Sometimes the mind is stubborn. So you can experiment. Sometimes elevating the elbows can help the shoulders relax. Sometimes just spreading them just a little bit wider away from each other and then resting can help. Sometimes you just have to change the pose and stretch the right arm overhead. You just kind of, do something different. All I'll say is it's not the pose's fault. Use your hands to push yourself up. Keep your head dangling. It's the last thing that comes up. Left leg stays straight, right leg is folded. If you've got a knee problem, yes, you can come out. If you don't, just sit up like this, Triang Mukha Pada. And then straighten. Now, we have 4 minutes left. There is a Shavasana that goes with this kind of sequence. And it involves a chair. And you would turn the chair to face away from you. And it would be nice if it had a sticky mat or a blanket on it. Sticky mat or blanket. And this is optional, a pillow for the head. So watch what I do before you climb in. This chair, by the way, is facing away from me. Yes, that's somewhat important. And I come up onto it with my knees right up to that chair seat. My heels right now are actually hanging off the other end. That's just the length of my shins. But here's what I do. Maybe you can see this. I move my heels to the outside of the chair. I'm going through the chair like this. This is first pose, but now I hook my heels right on the outside of that chair. And this is why I patted the chair, because that part is comfy on my ankle. What that does is, and Karen, this may not be the pose for you, I'm not sure, because it's a slight knees together internal rotation, which for most people is super low back comfy. That's the idea. Heels wide and knees just relaxed, not anywhere in particular. And see how that helps the sacrum spread. Spine long, shoulders tucked. And any form of support that makes your neck happy. Take that. See that the low back and buttocks are long and broad. Don't overstretch the skin, but there should be no sense of shortness. Use the sensation of the floor to encourage you to spread out more. Think of yourself. I hope this is an okay image, but think of yourself as a pat of butter. And as the room warms and as you relax, you start settling against the floor and spreading out like butter. Now you spread out, and it's as if each time you exhale, a few more of your skin cells come to rest on the floor. A few more of the heavy molecules settle down toward the floor. All the heavy parts of you are settling. All the light parts of you can also be felt. Floating, spacious. It's kind of how you focus your attention. You can feel that solidity, stability, earthiness. In the skull, in the trunk, everywhere, hips. And at the same time, with a small shift of the attention, you can sense the space between all those molecules. You can stay as you are. I would say namaskar, and I will see you next time. You don't have to move at all, you know. Karen, travel safely. I'll see you in probably a couple of weeks. There's a lot to do.
Thank you for everything. Take care.
Namaskar, everybody.